Hello friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this video, we will discuss another very important document that is carried by ships that are designed to carry dangerous cargoes either in packaged form or in bulk. The document we are talking about is the DOC or Document of Compliance for Carriage of Dangerous Goods. The DOC is a statutory document which is issued by the classification society, or it might be even issued by the flag state to, to highlight the cargo spaces of a ship which have been designed to carry certain grades of dangerous cargo as well as the safety measures like firefighting measures uh, or cooling down measures etc that are fitted in those designated cargo spaces. Before we deep dive into the document of compliance, let us try to understand the legal basis or the maritime conventions and codes which governs the carriage of dangerous goods. So, if you see SOLAS, then chapter 6 speaks about the provisions of carrying solid bulk cargoes, or I mean things like iron ore, coal, which are normally carried in the cargo holds in bulk quantities. And this chapter 6 then refers us to the IMSBC code or International Maritime Solid Bulk Cargo Code, which gives out the detailed advice or the detailed requirement of carrying of such bulk cargoes. Now, what is important to understand is that all the solid bulk cargoes that are carried are not dangerous goods. For example, you may load a bulk carrier with, say, grain. So, the grain is not a dangerous cargo, and hence, only part of the IMSBC code actually addresses the carriage of dangerous goods, and this we will see in our future slides. Also, if we go to chapter 7 of SOLAS, this speaks about carriage of dangerous goods in packaged form and refers us to the IMDG code or International Maritime Goods Code. So this chapter 7 and the IMDG code is what forms the crux or the uh, I would say the basis of carriage of dangerous goods on ships. And mm, almost all the provisions of the IMDG code are complied with and reflected in this document of compliance, except only a few small things which we will discuss in the next slide. Also, Marpol in its Annex 3 stipulates the precautions which are necessary for uh, carriage of harmful substances by sea, and this also relates back to this dangerous cargo handling part. Next, as I was speaking earlier, that most of the parts of IMDG code are covered by this document of compliance, except only a very small, very small category or class of substances. So, which are these? Uh, if you see the snapshot in the top, this is actually a extract from the footnote of the document of compliance. And if you pick up any document of compliance which has been issued to any shape for the dangerous goods, you will find this footnote at the bottom of the certificate. What it says is that there are these two categories of substances. One is 6.2, which is infectious substances, or we may call them as biohazards, like viruses or some kind of bacteria or anything that has a biohazard. So of course, as we understand that these are very very specialized, specialized things which with very very specialized kind of risks, and the code cannot comprehensively understand and cover this, so this part has been left out. Similarly, class 7 substances of IMDG, which are radioactive element, have also been excluded from this IMDG code because this is covered by a different code which is called the IGF or IGF code. Also, if you see, there is something mentioned about limited quantities or exempt quantities, or substances carried in limited quantity or exempt quantity. So, what does it mean? Let us say you have a substance that is, of course, categorized as dangerous good. But say you just want to carry a sample of that good, say 100 ml small bottle of that good in your ship in the car, in somewhere in the cargo, to take it from point A to point B. Now the question arises that this small quantity of dangerous good, does it actually present the same kind of risk or the same grade of risk if it was carried in, say, a quantity of 1 ton or 2 tons, something like that, right? So definitely it's but obvious that it doesn't. So there have been made provisions have been made within IMDG code, of course, based on the how dangerous the good is, to carry the good in the cargo in very very small quantities in small packages, in which you are still allowed to carry those small packages in limited quantities without actually the whole ship having the requirement to comply with the requirements of the IMDG code. So this is what is called cargo carried in limited quantity or exempted quantity. uh, there's a lot of technicality to understand because based on the type of cargo, the IMDG code specifies the minimum sample size which is considered as a limited quantity, and the minimum size which is considered as an exempted quantity, and also specifies the kind of packaging that needs to be done on that. So if anyone is interested, I would recommend to have a look at the IMDG code to get a a better understanding of these two things. Next, as I was telling you, that the ISMBC code, or the code for carriage of solid bulk cargos, it covers all different type of cargos, right? So as you see in the snapshot here, the cargoes under ISMBC code are divided into three groups. Group A is the cargoes which can liquefy, or say if you carry them in the carry them in the cargo hold due to the movement of the ship, the rolling, pitching of the ship, and the inherent quantity of water inside the cargo, they can form the cargo can like start behaving like a liquid, and which can cause stability problems of the ship. Then there is group B, which is called cargoes which have chemical hazards. And there is group C, which are cargoes which do not liquefy, neither they have chemical hazards. But it is important to understand that the cargoes which fall also are considered as dangerous cargoes only fall within this group B. So say there is a subset of group B which are cargoes which contain chemical hazards, and a part of those chemicals would also be considered as dangerous chemicals or dangerous cargo, and hence they would have to be addressed uh, by this document of compliance. Next, it is also something very interesting that some of the cargoes which are actually considered as dangerous cargoes, right? Like, say, coal, or as you can see in the slide, some kind of iron ores or unseasoned timber. So these are actually considered as dangerous cargoes. But if uh, a ship is designed only to carry these cargo, so say our owner designs a ship and says, this ship I will use for next 10 years only for carrying coal from point A to point B, and that's all I'm going to do. There's no other trade I'm going to do. In this case, to save the cost of installing all the firefighting equipment and the other necessary equipments in the cargo holds, to comply with the dangerous cargo requirements, the owner can just go to the flag and say that, you see, I will only carry coal from point A to point B, and I have put some basic, I have put some kind of precautions, measures that are required in the cargo hold. But I don't want to comply with the full code because the cargo I am carrying, which is coal, only has limited risk. In this case, the flag state can sometimes give exemptions to the ship on a case to case basis and allow them to only carry that particular cargo during the trade without fully complying with the requirements of the IMDG code. Next, we come to the point where let us have a look at the IMDG. Let us have a look at the document of compliance for dangerous goods. So, in the first snippet, as you can see, that what we have is the DOC, which is issued by a class society on behalf of a flag state, and hence this document is a statutory document. Second is you see the specifications of the ship, like ship name and gross tonnage, IMO number, etc. Then in the second snippet, what you can see is the what will be uh, what this DOC actually verifies or certifies. So the most important point in point number one here is construction and equipment of the ship. So here I would like to highlight that if you open up the IMDG code or the ISMBC code, they, for the carriage of the cargo, there are various requirements. So for a cargo in package form, they would specify how do you need to pack the cargo, how do you need to label the cargo, how do you need to, segregate the cargo in the cargo holds, and various other things. And these are the responsibility of the shipper, who is giving the cargo, to make sure that these uh, provisions are complied with. Similarly, it is the responsibility of the ship as well as the port terminal to uh, during their uh, cargo planning, to make sure that the kind of segregation that is required for dangerous cargo, say if there is a container which carries certain type of dangerous cargo, then you cannot store it below deck, you have to store it above the deck, and then you have to probably store it, say 3 meters away from the ship side. So these things are also provisions of the IMDG code, but this is not, these things are to be taken care of by the shipper and the port. But this document of compliance only covers the parts of IMDG code which are referring to the construction of the ship and the equipments, in terms of maybe firefighting, or we'll see later on the other or the electrical equipments that are fitted in the cargo holds, etc. So this DOC only talks about the construction of the ship and the equipments that are needed for carriage of dangerous goods. Similarly, if you see down, it talks about regulation 22-19. So This refers back to SOLAS chapter 2.2 regulation 19, which forms the basis for carriage of dangerous goods on ships. Again, in point number two, which I have highlighted in yellow, you see that this document shows you the provisions of IMDG code and IMSBC code, parts of IMSBC code which need to be complied with. And here is the second important thing, which it talks about the appendix. So what happened, what uh, this document is, the way the document is composed is, of course, there is the first page which says the ship particulars and certifies these provisions, and then there are three annexes to this certificate. Annex number 1 covers the carriage of dangerous goods in packaged form. Annex number 2 covers the carriage of dangerous goods in bulk. And the annex number 3 chalks out all the safety precautions and equipments that are fitted on the vessel to comply with the dangerous goods requirement. Okay, we will see this in the future slides. Next, you see a picture which is kind of a schematic diagram of the ship, which shows the different cargo holds or the cargo spaces of the ship. And as you can see, it is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for under deck spaces, and similarly for on deck, it has been specified 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the idea behind this picture, which is always there on the DOC certificate, is to give a reference as to which cargo hold is designed for carriage of which kind of cargo. So, for example, if we see this shape, for certain kind of dangerous goods, it might be only possible to carry that on cargo hold, say number 3 on deck, but you cannot carry it on cargo hold number 3 in the below the deck. Similarly, some other different kind of cargo, it might be only available or possible to carry in hold number 4. Okay. Next, if we see the IMDG code and the requirements, we will see that uh, the dangerous goods have been allowed to carry in ship only in certain kind of containments, or like, you cannot like take a dangerous cargo and put it in a cardboard box and say, here we go, you take it on the ship. No, that's not possible. So the second snippet gives the type of ship or the type of containments in which you can carry the dangerous goods on ship. So here you see number 1 is says a ship that is not specially designed for carriage of freight containers. So this is like, say, it might be a general cargo vessel or a bulk carrier, and you can be permitted to carry dangerous cargoes in these kind of ships. Second is designed for carriage of freight containers. So, of course, as you know, a lot of ships are there in which the containers are, the dangerous goods are stored inside containers and then shipped. Third is closed ro-ro cargo spaces, and fourth is open ro-ro cargo spaces. So, a roll-on roll-off ship, is also permitted to carry dangerous goods under certain conditions. Then number 5 says weather deck. So of course, open deck of the ship, where where it is open to atmosphere, and if there is a leak of dangerous cargo or something, there's always better chances of the cargo dissipating into the atmosphere. That is also somewhere you are allowed. And then there is number 6, which is a shipborne barges. So this is something like, if you have like a small barge or something which you have loaded with dangerous cargo, and then that barge is carried on the ship, either on deck or maybe in the cargo hold, that is also allowed. Okay, next we will go into the annex 1. which gives out the provisions of carriage of goods in packaged form. So, if you see, this is for a particular shape, the first column will give out the different grades of dangerous cargo that are there. So here you see 2.1 hydrogen and hydrogen mixture, or say 2.3 flammable. So this gives out the list of the dangerous cargoes that the ship is allowed to carry in packaged form. And if you see here, the just below, P means you are permitted in packaged form. C means you are permitted in closed freight containers or portable tanks. And X means it is not permitted. So here you see, uh, so let us say this 2.1 hydrogen and hydrogen mixtures, under deck. So you see in the under deck space, cargo hold number 1 is not permitted, cargo hold number 2 is not 2 to 4 is not permitted, and 5 is not permitted. So basically hydrogen and hydrogen mixture, because it is very explosive, you are not allowed to carry it below the deck. However, only, you are also not allowed to carry it in the engine room, because engine room is a high risk area. You are only allowed to carry this mixture on open deck. On open deck, uh, uh, cargo hold number 1 to 5, and that too in P means you are only allowed to carry it in a packaged form. So if you read this chart, you will see that every cargo has been specified as to the space where it can be carried, and also the type of containment in which it can be carried. Next we will go to the second annex, which talks about the solid bulk cargoes, right? So the example which, or the snapshot which I have taken from open source that was available on internet. So this ship is not allowed to carry any of the solid bulk cargoes in dangerous form, but if the ship was allowed, then it would, similar to first annex, it would similarly be indicated here like B means solid bulk cargo permitted. So if hypothetically barium nitride was say allowed in cargo hold number 5, then beside cargo hold number 5 it would be written B, which means it's allowed, and the others would just not be written. So this is what it is. Now we will go to our third annex, which is about the list of equipments that are available on the ship. This annex gives out the details of the equipments, or the different uh, provisions that are given in the cargo holds for uh, countering the risk of carrying dangerous goods. So, for example, here you see that 1.1, which talks about fixed CO2 system. So, of course, if you are carrying dangerous good in your cargo hold and there's always a risk of fire, so you need to have a fixed CO2 system or some other kind of system in the cargo hold. Second is, uh, in the cargo hold, if you have a fire, you need to have the provision to cool it down with water, and hence you need to have provisions for fire hydrants or ability to supply water. So that is also given in 3.1. Then 3.1.2, it talks about the water quantity. So based on the size of your cargo hold, of course, you need to have sufficient amount of water to either cool down the cargo hold by doing boundary cooling, or maybe the flooding the cargo hold. So this also has to be complied with, and the requirements of how much water per square meter or per volume of the cargo hold is given in the IMDG code, and the arrangements have to be provided accordingly. 3.1.3 is, again, as I said you, it's water cooling, so provisions for cooling. And then there are certain cargoes when they are flooded, or to counter the risk you may have to flood your cargo hold with water. So these provisions are also required if it like in this case it is said not provided because probably the type of cargoes that are carried in those hold don't need flooding. But if you are carrying a cargo that needs hold flooding, you will have to provide for it. Again, as you see, 3.2 is source of ignition. So all the lights and the electrical equipments inside cargo hold, they have to be intrinsically safe, or safe for electrical purposes, so that you don't end up with the electrical fire. Next we see if there is some kind of smoke or fire inside the hold, you should have the capability of smoke detection or fire detection. And what is important is also that the smoke detection from the cargo hold, it should be designed in such a way that these dangerous vapors which are coming from the cargo hold should not get into the accommodation and create a chance of contaminating the atmosphere in the accommodation. Then, if you have a gas leak or a fire inside the cargo hold, you should have the capability to mechanically ventilate the cargo holds with vent fans. And also, you need to make sure that the material of the fans blade are safe and non-sparking and do not cause a fire to the cargo. Uh, for as like a fire protection or a fire dissipant, you need a fire wire mesh on the cargo vents. Then if these are not required, some cargoes it just might be okay to have natural ventilation in the cargo holds. Then if you have flooded your cargo hold with water, you should have the capability of pumping out the cargo hold with the bilge pumps, and throwing them overboard without the chance of that contaminated cargo going through the engine room, so that like you have water in the cargo hold which is contaminated with dangerous cargo. And if you pump it through the engine room pump and there's a leak in the engine room pump, then that dangerous cargo can get in the engine room. So you have to effectively have a separate bilge pumping arrangement which is separate from the engine room. Yeah, and then of course, if you have a fire and you are sending some firefighters to fight the fire, then you need extra set of firefighting equipments, SCBA sets, and also you need chemical suits for the people so that they are protected from the dangerous goods. So all these provisions are given in this annex number 3. And again, as you all can see in this is a statutory document, and which is subject to annual surveys. And as with all other statutory certificates, there are 4 annual surveys in this, and the 5th year this certificate is renewed and a new certificate is issued. uh, I hope all of you found this presentation interesting. And if you like the presentation, request you to subscribe to the channel and like and share the content. Thank you so much. See all of you in the next video.